Our next speaker is Charles Huntington, who's a resident of Simsbury and a member of the Unitarian Society of Hartford.
Thank you, Sean, and good afternoon. I appreciate the opportunity to be part of this event. I'm not here to talk about the arcane details of the governor's or anyone else's budget proposal. What I am here to talk about are the principles by which budget decisions are made. My family and I are blessed to live in Connecticut. This state gives us great jobs, a good income, a wonderful community, and a very high quality of life. But no one can live in Connecticut, and particularly in the Hartford area, without realizing that Connecticut struggles with egregious inequities in jobs, income, education, housing, healthcare, and the list goes on and on. The statistics comparing my town of Simsbury to many of the neighborhoods of Hartford, some literally only yards from here, are absolutely staggering. Those inequities cannot be ignored by anyone with a modicum of a conscience. To be sure, balancing the state budget in an economic recession is a daunting task. You all realize it. That's not news. But passing the budget entails many decisions and many choices that affect the lives of people in Connecticut. My plea to the governor and to the legislature is that their choices be guided by principles of fairness and equity. By the choices that they make, the budget could either increase the income differential between the rich and the poor, or it could be balanced in a way that narrows that unconscionable gap. By their choices, the budget could be balanced in a way that undermines the programs and services needed by an ever-increasing number of people, or it could be balanced in a way that protects and preserves those very same programs. Now, as a member of the Unitarian Society of Hartford and the Unitarian Universalist faith, I do not consider myself a Christian, but I nevertheless hold in high regard many of the words attributed to Jesus. And in the context of this economic recession, I've given a lot of thought to his words in Luke 12, and you know them. To whom much is given, much is expected. To whom much is given, much is expected. I used those very words recently in our church's annual pledge drive. As I am sure is the case in your churches, many of our parishioners are struggling with unemployment and lower income. And the very same economic forces that have negatively impacted our members have also increased their need for our support and for the comfort that a church can and should provide. Knowing that many of our members cannot afford to pledge any amount to the church, I ask those members who have been relatively protected from the negative effects of the recession to dig deeper, to give more than they would otherwise, precisely because so many who would give cannot, and because so many of those folks need our love and support like never before. Well, I don't think the circumstances of our state are much different from those of my church. Many, but not all, are hurting. I can tell you, as someone who is fortunate enough to be in an upper income bracket and only modestly affected by the recession, a marginal increase in my state income taxes will be, in a word, inconvenient. And that's all it'll be, an inconvenience. My family and I will still have a rather nice roof over our heads. We'll have plenty of food on our table. We'll have 2 or more cars in our garage, all in good working condition, and we'll still be able to send our kids to outrageously expensive private colleges. I call on the governor and the legislature to minimize any further tax burden on folks in the middle and lower income brackets, and to preserve the state services now needed by so many people. As a member of a relatively high income bracket, I welcome an increase in taxes on the wealthy. It is the only fair and equitable thing to do. Now, I don't know how many people in the upper income brackets I represent in advocating an increase, a tax on the wealthy, but I'm sure I'm pretty typical in the effect that such a tax increase would have, which is to say, not much at all. Anyone who claims otherwise is just whining. I thank you for the opportunity to be here, and I thank you for the opportunity for supporting a tax increase. I want you to know that for what my family would receive in return for being better and more responsible citizens of this great state, it is more than worth the price. Thank you for hearing me. I appreciate your efforts.